Hey guys, it's Chris. From horrifying wild animals to accidental poisonings and even a free baby, here are 10 wild times that restaurants went wrong. Number 10. Snakes in the ceiling. The one thing you never expect to happen while you're simply enjoying a meal at a restaurant is a snake bursting through the ceiling and attacking the customers. And yet this is exactly what happened at a busy restaurant in an unknown location when a giant snake literally crashed through a panel ceiling and fell into the room, nearly landing on someone's head as they tried to eat their dinner. Diners at the restaurant were terrified and didn't know what to do. The snake was colossal too, with estimates placing it at up to 15 feet in length. Unfortunately, nobody's really sure what kind of snake it was. It looked to be some kind of python, although it was never confirmed. It must have been living above the ceiling and was on its way out for business when the tiles gave out and the serpent came crashing down. Staff at the restaurant were quick to wrangle the horrifying monster with a metal hook on a stick, and then they got the snake away from the terrified customers. As of right now, the fate of the snake is unknown, but let's just hope it didn't end up in the soup of the day. What would you have done in a situation like this? Number 9. Rat in the soup. Speaking of soup, a popular restaurant chain in China lost somewhere around $190 million after a pregnant woman discovered a dead rat in her soup broth. It wasn't the missing customers that caused the restaurant to lose money. Instead, it was their stock that hit a low point after photos of the dead rat being held with chopsticks spread across the internet. The restaurant is called Shabu Shabu, and the outlet was located in Shandong province. According to the BBC, the location was temporarily shut down and the woman was offered only about $700 in compensation. It doesn't seem like nearly enough to me. The worst part of the incident by far is that the woman actually took a few slurps of her soup before discovering the rat. Ew. And here's where things get really bonkers. In an interview with local news, the woman's husband claimed that she was worried about her baby's health, so one of the staff members actually suggested his wife abort the baby if she was so worried. And obviously, that's insanely inappropriate. After all, the woman had only wanted some yummy soup. Number 8. Heart attack, heart attack. There's a popular restaurant located in the famous Fremont Street in Las Vegas called Heart Attack Grill. As the name implies, it's a great place to go for a heart attack. Their slogan is "Taste worth dying for," suggesting it's okay to die from a heart attack so long as the food is delicious. So would you eat at a place called Heart Attack Grill? Well, John Allman was the unofficial spokesman for the restaurant, who would stand out front, hawking burgers and gathering customers, telling anyone who would listen to come inside and try the amazing food. Well, he actually did die of a heart attack. Yes, this is the definition of irony. He was waiting for a bus in front of the restaurant when he suddenly went into cardiac arrest, was transported to the hospital, and then later removed from life support. According to the New York Post, Allman frequently ate many of the foods on the menu. Some of the most horrific dishes sold at Heart Attack Grill include something called the Quadruple Bypass Burger, which comes equipped with 9,982 calories. John Allman was not the first unofficial spokesman for the Heart Attack Grill to die, though. In 2011, a 575-pound man named Blair, the Gentle Giant River, died of flu-related pneumonia. Not long after River's death, a different man had a heart attack while inside the restaurant. Customers were actually laughing and taking pictures because they thought it was a publicity stunt. Then in April of 2012, a woman in her 40s collapsed, eating one of the double bypass burgers, smoking cigarettes, and having a margarita. Number 7. El Poco Loco Killer. El Poco Loco is a great place to get Mexican food. Or so you thought it was until you heard this story. It's also apparently a great place to be stabbed in the parking lot. Police were recently on the hunt for a slasher who ran off after stabbing someone multiple times in the parking lot of a Hollywood El Polo Loco restaurant. Talk about bad dining experience, -5 stars. The victim and the attacker had gotten into a brawl in the parking lot. That was where the attacker pulled out a knife and stabbed the guy several times. The attacker ran off and the victim managed to stumble back into the restaurant where he then collapsed. At which point, the authorities were called and he was quickly whisked away to the hospital in critical condition. At the time of the attack, there weren't many details available. The crime scene was blocked off and police were searching the area. So far as we know, the crazed attacker has yet to be found. His motives for trying to kill the victim are also currently unknown. Nobody's sure what these two guys were arguing about. Maybe it was over who got the last taco. Do you have any other ideas on what the El Polo Loco fight was all about? Let me know in the comments section below. And if you're liking this video, then be sure to hit that thumbs up and the subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 6. Free baby. In Jersey City, a teenager walked into the El Patron restaurant holding a newborn baby. According to the restaurant owner, Frankie Aguilar, she walked up to a pair of Good Samaritans, told them she'd discovered the infant outside, handed the baby over to a woman later identified as Elise Scott, and then ran away. She literally handed the baby to a stranger and walked out of the restaurant and vanished. Suffice it to say, Elise Scott ended up with a lot more than she bargained for when deciding to stop off for lunch. She went in to get a snack and ended up with a random baby. But here's the deal, that baby almost certainly belonged to that teenage girl. It had also been born probably just a couple minutes before being handed over. The baby still had its umbilical cord attached and was having difficulty breathing. The police were called and paramedics responded with medical gear and oxygen. The newborn baby was rescued and left the restaurant in good health. According to ABC 7 News, the child has since been put up for adoption. As for the young girl who dropped her off, she was only 14 years old, and she won't be facing any charges. Business owner actually said he's happy the teen mom chose his El Patron restaurant to seek help, while the Good Samaritan said she'd be happy to even become the baby's godmother. Number 5. Exploding KFC. In North Carolina, a KFC served up a bit more than fried chicken. At 12:30 a.m. on a Thursday morning, the entire restaurant exploded. Luckily, nobody was actually in the restaurant at the time it blew up. But it was extremely fortunate that the explosion happened at night and not during the evening dinner rush just a few hours earlier. Even more horrifying is that, according to the police, employees had smelled gas just before they closed the restaurant for the night. The manager shut off the gas nozzle, thinking it would solve the problem. The manager also called the gas company and was hoping to get the problem solved in the morning. After the last employee closed up shop, they went across the street to purchase a drink, and much to their shock, they witnessed the KFC go up in flames. They escaped with their life just in time before being turned into Kentucky Fried Human. As for the cause of the leak, police were not able to immediately confirm it. The local gas company was investigating, but no cause was ever announced. Number 4. Hot dogs and drugs. In Florida, a restaurant owner named Louis Younglove is facing charges of drug trafficking after getting caught running an illegal business out of their hot dog restaurant. According to Fox News, the owner of Chi-Town Italian Beef and Hot Dogs has been accused of dealing drugs along with selling hot dogs. Taken into custody, the owner was in possession of a huge amount of various illegal substances, including cocaine, marijuana, and Adderall. They also had $18,000 in cash on them. Then at the guy's house, police found $500,000 in cash and even more drugs. According to the Miami Herald, authorities attempted to take Younglove into custody and executed a search warrant while he was driving to work. He allegedly tried to flee and ended up smashing into an unmarked cop car and was apprehended. How did this restaurant owner get busted? It was detectives who discovered a bit more on the menu than just food. The place was known around town for selling narcotics right out of the restaurant. If you knew what to ask for, you could literally walk up to this place, get yourself a pizza and a chili, and walk away with more illegal substances than most people would know what to do with. This is not really what people mean when they talk about a place having a secret menu. Number 3. Machete attack. At a restaurant in Ohio, a wild man wielding a machete attacked 4 people in an act of indiscriminate violence before the police showed up and shot and killed the guy. According to ABC News, he was a known person of interest to the FBI, but not being fully investigated. The suspect was later identified as Mohammed Berry, a 30-year-old man who didn't appear to have any logical motive for carrying out the insane attack. Customers were at the Nazareth Restaurant and Deli in Columbus, minding their own business and eating some good food, when the man walked in, briefly talked to an employee, then returned 30 minutes later with a machete in hand and began trying to chop people into pieces. A mother from the restaurant ran outside with her kids and phoned 911 right away. She said, "Some guy pulled out a machete and started stabbing people." Some have described the brutal violence as a terror attack, though it didn't really seem to be prompted by anything specifically. The people were literally just eating and no one had even provoked the attacker at all. People didn't even really notice him until he came back with a weapon. The restaurant location was also apparently completely random. It's not like this guy just had a burning hatred in his heart for the deli. Police said that some of the customers even tried to fight back. Some of the patrons there started throwing chairs at him, just trying to get him out of there, Columbus Police Sergeant Rich Weiner said, according to the AP. There was no rhyme or reason as to who he was going after. In total, 4 victims were hospitalized, but luckily nobody died during the traumatic incident, except of course the guy with the machete. Talk about a bad day to eat out. Number 2. Iced tea poison. A woman in Utah was out for a meal with her family at Dickey's Barbecue in South Jordan when she accidentally drank a cup of poison. This wasn't poison as in spoiled milk or something harmless, it was actual poison. And she got it from the self-serve machine. Here's what happened. Jan Harding, a 67-year-old woman, filled her cup with iced tea from the self-serve unit. She then immediately spat it out, though not before swallowing some of it. It turned out that an employee at the restaurant mistakenly poured lye into the iced tea machine instead of powdered iced tea mix. This insanely dangerous mix-up resulted in Jan Harding nearly dying. And if you're wondering what lye is, it's an odorless chemical that kinda looks like sugar, and it's used for deep cleaning things like fryers. Lye's also the most active ingredient in Drano and is usually used by serial killers when burying bodies. After drinking the poison, the horrible liquid went through the woman's esophagus and left ulcerated burns. She had to spend 2 weeks in hospital, but did not file charges against the restaurant, instead choosing to enter immediately into mediation, probably for a great big payout. Number 1. Pocket bomb. At a restaurant in Mumbai, a customer had a very bad time after his cell phone exploded in his pocket. The incident was even caught on video. The guy was sitting at a table, everything was completely normal, and he was eager to gobble up his food, and all of a sudden, smoke started pouring out of his pants. He jumped away from the table and tried to take the phone out of his pocket, while the other people in the restaurant left him for dead and made a mad break for it. Apparently, the phone exploded in his pocket because of a faulty battery, essentially catching his pants on fire and burning into his leg. The explosion from the phone left a pretty big hole in this guy's pants and burned straight through his skin. He had to be admitted to the local hospital, though he did make a full recovery. And while not the restaurant's fault by any means, it was still a pretty bad dining experience for the guy with the defective phone and the hole in his pants. Thanks for watching. What's the worst thing you've ever experienced at a restaurant? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and watch more awesome videos from the channel. We'll see you next time.